Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Roel Lorange from the Coax Foundation, and today there is a match between two teams who are starting the competition in their group phase. This is a day one match, so I give the floor to my colleagues who will be hosting the match.
Thank you very much. First of all, welcome everyone to your match. We're very excited to have you. And now we would like to start a bit with the introduction of your teams. So maybe we can start with the University of Applied Sciences with Miss Misawi.
Hi, I am Isawi, and I will be doing the closing statement, and I'm one of the representatives of the Hague University. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now passing the floor to the University of Colombo, Miss Gamage.
Hi, I'm Shanali Gamage from University of Colombo, and I'll be the second speaker for today.
Thank you very much. Now again to the University of Applied Sciences, Miss Michna.
Hello, my name is Julia Michna, and I'm the opening speaker, and I'm looking forward to this debate.
Thank you so much. Now back to the University of Colombo. Would either one of the two speakers, Mr. Gamage or your colleague, like to proceed?
Yeah, hi, I'm Gavin Fidido Gamuge, and I'll be the opening speaker from the side of University of Colombo.
Perfect. And now again from the Hague University of Applied Sciences, can I have Mr. Hassan Alalawi?
Hi, my name is Hassan Lalawi. I can't wait to participate and I'm looking forward to it. I am the second speaker.
Thank you. And last but not least, again from the University of Colombo, Ms. Sanders.
Hi, I'm Sahana Mitzani, and I'll be the second speaker from the University of Colombo.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to pass the floor to my colleague, Mrs. Urbanova, for the allocation of the positions.
Thank you very much. And of course, welcome everyone to your day one, the very first match of your participation in the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament of 2026. You can already see, I hope, the wheel with the randomizer for the allocation of your positions. To reiterate for the viewers, today's topic is whether or not national standard setting processes should ensure equitable participation of foreign economic actors. The teams have received the statement 7 days in advance and have prepared for both sides of the argument. And in just a few seconds, we'll find out which side will be defended by which team. All right, so for today's debate, it will be the University of Colombo that will be defending the in favor position, and the Hague University of Applied Sciences will argue for the against position. Therefore, we'll start after the break of 5 minutes to finalize your preparations with the University of Colombo's opening statements. You now have 5 minutes. Feel free to close your cameras. Thank you. Your time for final preparation is now over. Best of luck. I'll pass the floor to our co-host.
Thank you. Okay, so now the University of Colombo can have the floor for the opening statements. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Members of the House, imagine a global village where neighbors do not communicate with each other for the betterment of the community. That is, in fact, the issue that we are faced with in this honorable House. And the solution we propose as a side proposition is for there to be equitable participation of foreign economic actors in national standard setting processes. For this purpose, we've understood two main burdens in the debate at hand on the side of proposition. Firstly, that there requires to be equitable participation, which allows for a fair distribution of participation and consideration of their opinions, of the opinions of foreign economic actors based on their market share. And secondly, that there would be an expansion and improvement of quality of national markets due to allowing such economic actors to enter into the national standard setting procedure. For that, we must understand that within the status quo that is existent in today's world, local opinions are merely not sufficient to provide sufficient viabilities, and it endures definite vulnerabilities upon communities as it fails to provide sufficient viable communications towards standard setting. As a result, let us first understand what national standards are. National standards are agreed thresholds on the quality of products and services in circulation within the territorial limits of a nation. Secondly, foreign economic actors in this instance are stakeholders who maintain a considerable level of market share upon imports and supply chains on a country. If I was to move into my first argument, our first argument is that there is an expansion of horizons of quality manifestations by allowing foreign actors to enter into markets. Imagine a world where generalized bureaucrats make decisions on national standard settings instead of specialized scientists. This creates, in fact, an expertise gap as governments are unable to understand what a product necessarily used within a market, as they are not necessarily the inventors of this product. As a result, we as side proposition proposes for equitable participation in ensuring that there is rightful communication and expertise brought into the process of national standard setting to ensure that there is rightful international standards that are also met within national standards. The best example would be the China GB standard, which has taken the inputs of Tesla and Volkswagen in providing rightful standards within their national economy. Moving into my second argument, which is with regards to the technological hyperextensivity. That is to say that there could be technological advancement, in fact, due to national standard setting through foreign actors. By introducing foreign actors, they would introduce international standards into the market, and they would in fact introduce technological assessing of such standards. As a result, there could be an expansion of technology within a country as well. Further to that, with this, there is also another argument, which is to say that by expanding technological purviews, more actors would enter into the market. Therefore, there could be an expansion of the market itself. There could be more competition within the market, which would definitely break the monopoly that is existent upon the local industries. And as a result of breaking this monopoly, necessarily creates an expanded market choice, as well as it might reduce price rigidity, and it would create equitable price for consumers as well. And as a result of these arguments, we believe that by providing equitable participation, there is clear room for national standards to be uplifted to a level in which consumers, population, and also the world at large is benefited as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now proceeding with the Hague University of Applied Sciences for the opposition opening statements. You may have the floor.
Honorable judges, respected opponents, we strongly disagree with the proposition that foreign economic actors should be granted equitable participation in national standard setting processes. We contend that such participation risks lowering regulatory standards, undermining national values, and creating structural power imbalances that weaken domestic accountability. By equitable participation, the proposition refers to a structured consultation granting foreign economic actors formal access to national standard setting processes. Although presented as procedural and neutral, this gives external economic interests an institutional role in shaping domestic regulation. Firstly, equitable participation risks lowering standards. National standards are deliberate policy choices designed to protect public welfare, consumer rights, and long term societal interests. When foreign economic actors operate under less strict regulatory systems, their formal involvement creates pressure to adjust standards in more flexible direction. Consider data protection in the European Union. The GDPR established a high and uniform level of privacy protection across member states. Many United States based digital platforms operate under more flexible regulatory frameworks. Granting such actors structured access to EU standard setting processes risk weakening the protection that GDPR was designed to secure and shifting regulatory priorities toward business convenience rather than individual rights. This is not merely technical adjustment, it's a shift in the balance between economic interests and fundamental protections. Secondly, equitable participation can conflict with the national identity and social priorities. National standards often reflect cultural values and collective choices, not just economic efficiency. For example, Norway and Sweden maintain strict alcohol monopolies to protect public health and promote social responsibility. These systems reflect deliberate national decisions about how society balances market freedom with societal protection. Foreign economic actors are encouraged to expand market access and increase sales. Formal participation allows commercial priorities to influence regulations designed to protect social objectives. Thirdly, equitable participation creates structural power imbalances. Large foreign economic actors possess significant financial and legal resources. Domestic regulators do not operate on equal footing. This creates a risk of regulatory chill where government weaken regulation due to the fear of investor state disputes and regulatory capture, where regulatory agency, instead of acting in public interest, begins to favor the industry it's supposed to regulate. Institutionalizing participation strengthens the imbalance by granting already powerful actors formal access within the rulemaking process. In conclusion, granting equitable participation to foreign economic actors risk lowering established standards, weakening national values, and reinforcing unequal influence within the domestic governments. National standards exist to protect welfare and to reflect priorities, not to accommodate external economic pressure. For those reasons, we firmly oppose the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we can move to the rebuttal phase. So first of all, the University of Colombo being in favor, you now have 2 minutes.
Just a small clarification before I proceed. It's 2 minutes per rebuttal. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable adjudicators, I respect the concerns raised by our opponents, particularly the fear that foreign participation may lower standards or distort national priorities. However, when we examine these claims carefully, the evidence shows the opposite. First, they argue that foreign participation lowers regulatory standards. In reality, standards are more likely to fall when governments regulate without access to modern testing methods or global data. In several developing countries, including Nigeria and Kenya, food safety inspections historically relied on visual checks because laboratories lacked advanced equipment like mass spectrometry. Grains that looked safe were later found to contain toxic levels of heavy metals. The problem was not foreign influence, it was the absence of technological expertise and modern testing methods. Equitable participation allows governments to access that expertise and raise standards, not lower them. Secondly, the opposition claims that foreign actors operate under separate standards and cannot stand local conditions. But many modern industries, electric vehicles, pharmaceuticals, telecommunications, are built on global supply chains. Standards created in isolation often become impractical and or fragmented. Even a major economy like China recognized this when developing its GB standards for electrical vehicle batteries, consulting companies like Tesla and Volkswagen to ensure the rules were technically feasible and safe. China retained full control of the final decision while strengthening the quality of its regulation. Thirdly, they claim participation shifts priorities toward business interests, but equitable participation does not give foreign actors decision-making power. It simply gives regulators access to data and methodologies. A strong example is the European Union's REACH chemical regulation, where consultation with foreign firms allowed regulators to obtain safety data and advanced testing protocols needed to identify harmful chemicals. The result was stricter environmental protection. Finally, they argue that national standards must reflect identity and local interests. We agree, but protecting national interests means protecting citizens' health, safety, and access to quality goods. Standards built without scientific evidence or technical feasibility often leave citizens with higher prices, lower quality products, and fewer choices. So the real question before this house is simple: are national interests better served by formed, scientifically grounded standards, or by isolated decision making that risks errors and outdated methods? For these reasons, the opposition's arguments do not stand, and we firmly uphold the motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, everyone, make sure to keep your closing statements brief. Thank you. And now we can proceed to the rebuttals of the Hague University of Applied Sciences, which is against. You may have the floor.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to make the argument that their claim, or sorry, the party arguing for this motion's claim that fair distribution of participation and consideration based on market share is a slippery slope that leads to a environment of regulatory chill. What I mean by this is clear. You have examples such as large multinational companies, including Philip Morris, attacking small countries that are unable to defend with the same level of financial and environmental gain, such as Uruguay. In the case, in the international case in the Center of Settlement of Investor Disputes involving Uruguay and Philip Morris, which is a tobacco company, Philip Morris argued that the Uruguayan laws requiring that cigarettes could not be smoked inside public buildings was unfair. This argument, which comes on the basis of public health and the well-being of the people of Uruguay by the domestic Uruguayan regulator, was attacked. And at the end of this, what occurred was that the regulators had to spend $7 million, numerous hours and years of fighting this argument in a court of investor disputes, only to reaffirm its decision as a national regulator. You have large multinational companies that can attack due to their market share being threatened in domestic markets. Secondly, I'd like to make the claim that the other party stated that safety standards would be improved if, for example, we were to allow consultation of other parties inside, foreign economic actors, please excuse me. I'd like to bring up the American example of where U.S. Congress designated that pizza in particular tomato sauce, be clarified as a vegetable in order to allow for the standards to be continuing. I would like to just bring up finally that by allowing domestic standards to be threatened by foreign economic actors, you lead to our environment where rules are threatened.
Thank you. And now we can proceed to the second phase of the rebuttal, starting with the University of Colombo. You now have 2 minutes.
Members of the House, today we bring up the argument that we are not really talking about attacking small countries, but rather to help the developing countries to come out with new technological advancements which help them to uplift their standards. So for an example, if we take Nigeria and Kenya, if you look at the clean standards and hygienic standards that they brought up, where if the manual inspector in a country like Nigeria or Kenya says that a product is clean, but then again, if we have the sort of like high performance lipid chromatography and mass spectrometry as technologies to support these developing countries to come out of their technological barriers and also to help them out with moving globalization. That would be important rather than saying attacking small countries. It's not necessarily something that attacking small countries, but rather to help them to come up with the more technological advancements that the world is moving on. And also, we would like to point out the next argument, the next rebuttal. We are talking about equity. We are not talking about equal footing, where equal footing is necessarily out of the context of this debate, where we're talking about equitable participation, and necessarily it is not equal participation. Because for an example, in a country like Sri Lanka, if China or US comes to Sri Lanka with certain sort of standards and protocols, we are not necessarily willing to give them an equal opportunity and equal seat in the table, because that is not necessarily something that they can do and afford to. So because of that, we as a proposition promote fair distribution and inclusion fairness, that they have a market fair. And for an example, EU REACH registration, authorization, evaluation and restriction of chemicals brought this argument that they can sort of like impact the countries in EU region to come up with certain sort of standards and technological methodologies to ensure new safety standards and daily submission processes and testing methods. So we as professionals believe that expanding technology improves people and allows more people to come into the countries and also engage in more sort of national standards and inclusions rather than trying to say that it attacks small countries and whole economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now back to the Hague University of Applied Sciences, which is against for the second rebuttals. You may have the floor.
Thank you. The team arguing for this motion highlighted numerous times over and over again that one, this motion of allowing equitable, the keyword equitable, participation of foreign economic actors will improve competition, leading to the breaking of monopolies of local industries. However, I would like to make a point clear. You have large multinational corporations that have significant more resources than domestic industries that can easily overpower domestic industries and create a monopoly in undeveloped countries. This is an extreme threat due to two important reasons. One, I'd like to just start again. Sorry. The team arguing for has made a argument that local opinions are insufficient for viabilities and vulnerabilities of the modern day and age. You require standards from developed countries that can assist these developing countries, and they use the argument of Nigeria as an example, where they relied on visual methods of determining whether food was safe. Firstly, I'd like to make it clear that national authorities don't simply take domestic opinions when thinking of creating standards. They also take into account the identity as well as societal belief. When domestic companies or domestic regulators had to, in Norway and Sweden, design laws to protect and prevent alcoholism, which was extremely prevalent in these countries, they came to a conclusion that a monopoly of the state was more vital than ensuring the free market and competition, as the drawback of allowing these companies to freely act in Norway and Sweden would be that people would be using alcohol far more frequently, which leads to alcoholism, depression, overall well-being of the people decreasing. Societal values are very important when deciding standards. These companies don't share that idea. They share the idea of profits only. Thank you.
Thank you. And now moving on to our concluding speeches. So now the University of Colombo, you have the floor.
Thank you. Members of the House, we must understand that side opposition has completely misunderstood the very crux of this debate. They brought out arguments to say that we must go into an isolated state. We must live alone in this world, in a corner, in a dark corner in this world, without any support of any country or any actor in the global context. And this is very clear by the arguments. They're merely talking about local industries, but we clearly spoke out that technology is clearly stagnant when we are away and we are isolated from the world. That is why we as side proposition propose that technological advancements would be a clear result of opening equitable participation, that is fair participation on the parts of foreign economic actors. We're talking about foreign economic actors who do have a market share, who do understand the importance of a country, and they do understand the repercussions and the results that would be brought in by the national standards that they would help to set. And as a result, bringing in more technology into a country. Why are we talking about countries which would remain stagnant? They're talking about local industries which have failed under national standards. Look at the lead in Maggie crisis in 2015 in India. The crisis clearly raises doubts on the national standards set within India. Furthermore, my fellow colleagues mentioned about Nigeria. There are many countries where the national standards have failed to provide proper provision methods in analyzing the feasibility of products and services within countries. And that is why we as side proposition clearly propose to allow for foreign actors to come in with an equitable participation to ensure that there is sufficient participation of local actors along with foreign actors to ensure that there is rightful distribution and there is rightful distribution for the betterment of the state, for the betterment of the people, and for the betterment of the globe as a global village. Thank you, and side with proposition.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, the concluding speech of the Hague University of Applied Sciences. You may have the floor.
Okay, so honorable judges and respected opponents, first I wanted to argue on a few points that the opponents have mentioned. Of course, equitable participation could help if you look at it in a certain way, but what the opponents confuse is technical knowledge with regulatory influence. Foreign economic actors are not neutral scientists. They are market competitors with commercial incentives. When a firm helps write standards, they do not merely share knowledge, they shape rules in a way that favors their own technologies. This produces something known as a standards capture. It's a type of regulatory capture, which can result to less competition, not more. And what then actually happens is that participation by a dominant global firm creates a technologically lock-in and market dependence. In small domestic countries, they cannot fight against that. There are multiple issues with the arguments of the opponents. First of all, the lowering of standards, it has been proven. If we take into account systems of other countries and we want to implement those systems, our standards will be lowered. A good example would be like AI. AI is an increasing market globally. One of the countries that is very much increasing in this market is the US, is China, but the US is a good example, has a completely different system. Their system is much less restricted than our system in the AU because we follow the GDPR. This means that if we want to implement the system of the US, or if we want to get the participation of the US, it means that we have to lower our standards to let their system be implemented in our society. And it's not the only example. A good example would be that China was a very, very small country when it came to electrical vehicles. They used the participation of other companies, but this had caused that other companies could know how China's companies work, on what manufacturing, how their batteries work, etc. It was restricting the competition. So what I would like to argue, honorable judges, is that we oppose the notion. National standards are not merely technical rules, they are policy choices about safety, privacy, health, and social welfare. The proposition asks you to guarantee foreign economic actors a formal role in shaping those choices. That is not simple consultation, it is an institutionalized influence over domestic regulations. We reject this reason, therefore, for three reasons. First, it just risks lowering regulatory standards. Secondly, it undermines national values. It does not only talk about health, etc. It talks about culture, it talks about expressing social priorities. Some states want to maintain their culture, want to uphold their values. And if we just implement the equitable participation, those actors can influence our own values and our own democratic choices. We need to focus on that. And then third, it creates a structural power imbalance. Large multinational firms possess vast legal and financial resources. Domestic regulators do not negotiate with them on equal footing. Formalizing their role increases the risk of regulatory chill and regulatory capture, where governments hesitate. Oh, thank you.
Your
Sorry.
time is up. Okay, thank you very much. And now we have concluded the official part of the match. You can all relax. And we can now pass a bit to the feedback. So maybe now I can start with the University of Colombo. Would Miss Gamage like to share your experience? So the main question is, first of all, how did you find today's match? And concerning your preparation, did you hear some of the arguments from the opposing team that you had already prepared? Was it something completely new? Go ahead.
Hi. So I think I really enjoyed this debate. I enjoyed being part of this debate. I like you said, there were some arguments that we heard from the opposition that we already anticipated and we already prepared for. But today I think that for me as a first time debater, I really had a really fun experience.
This is nice to hear. Thank you. And now back to the Hague University of Applied Sciences, Ms. Mihna. Same question for you.
Yes, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the participation in the debate, even though it was the first one I took part in English. I think it could be a good challenge for all of us. And when it comes to preparation, we did came to the same conclusions while preparing to the other side. However, I think both sides did well, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And now Ms. Sanders from the University of Colombo.
Yeah, same here. I'm really glad that we had a wonderful round. I think the arguments to some of them were anticipated from our end as well. However, it was really great the way you all presented it, and I think both teams did exceedingly well. And it's great. It was a great experience being our first round, and I hope all of us can go forward with the other rounds as well successful. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mr. Hassan Al-Alawi.
Regarding their arguments, we did anticipate a few of them. There were a few that we saw that were not mentioned before. I think the debate went very well. I am very glad that my other colleagues and the opponents did and had a very good time in this. And overall, I think it was very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now our last speaker of the University of Colombo, Ms. Sanders.
Hi, so yeah, as my colleagues mentioned, it was really an interesting debate, and I'm really enjoying the participation today at this debate. And yeah, same with the arguments, we actually prepared with some of the arguments, but actually it was also a bit of challenge. Like as a first time debater in an international competition. So yeah, but that was a good experience.
Great. And lastly, Miss Misawi.
Can you hear me? Okay. So, I do feel like there were some arguments that we had anticipated because we prepared for them as well. However, I do feel that I could have concluded a bit better. Well, much better. But in general, I liked debating for the first time, and yeah, it was like a good meeting. The teams were nice.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to pass the floor to my colleague Ms. Urbanova for the networking part of the match.
Thank you. And first of all, let me just say well done to the both teams. Well done on concluding your first match. It was a pleasure to be the observer for the debates. As always, we wrap up the debate sessions by a bit of exchange, a bit of networking possibility. Although, of course, after the match, we do really encourage you to keep in contact. It really is quite beneficial to have the wide network. You never know, you might need an advice when it comes to different jurisdictions. We, of course, tag all the teams on LinkedIn, but already a first question that comes to mind is, how were you chosen maybe to represent your university? Why did you decide perhaps yourselves to represent your university, and what does it mean to you? First starting with University of Colombo's debate team. Whichever one of your members wants to start us off.
Yeah, so U.of was chosen from an intra-university sort of a selection process. And one of the reasons why I joined, and I'm sure my colleagues also share this view, is that we wanted an international exposure as well. Some of us are first-time debaters on an international platform, and it's really great that we get to debate with those from other countries and other countries and jurisdictions as well. And I feel it's a great exposure for all of us going forward. And that is one of the reasons why I joined this debate. I'm sure my colleagues share the same.
Right. Ms. Mastarani, Ms. Gamagea, how was it for you?
Pretty much the same thoughts here. We did go through a selection process at our university, which is held by the Moot Court and Debating Society of our faculty. And for me personally, I think this was a really educational experience because I am new to debating, and I really wanted to try to participate in an international competition of this scale while completing my LLB. So I'm really glad that I participated today in this round.
All right, thank you for sharing. The same question for the Hague University of Applied Sciences debate team. How did you come to represent your university in the tournament, and why did you decide for it? And perhaps now that you're here already after the first match, what does it mean for you going forward?
I guess I'll begin. For me, I was chosen by, we had a email on, and of course message on the SharePoint, and given the fact that I had some experience in the past with MUN and with other debates back home with the Law Society, I decided why not obviously try to join. And why I decided to is I think it would be very good for experience. Law is a very big field that requires, especially in common law jurisdictions, a lot of focus and a lot of arguing per se. So debating would help achieve that. And what this means forward is, for the debate, means for me at least, that I've got to, of course, try a lot harder overall. Thank you.
And then for me, so I would say that, well, I don't actually have a lot of experience, so I thought that this would be a very good chance or opportunity to maybe get the experience for my curriculum vitae. I do feel like it's scary, man. Because I don't like the fact that it gets posted on YouTube. Like that's just so scary because I don't want to embarrass myself. And then it's just, I don't know, it puts a lot of pressure, especially because I'm representing like the school, and you don't want to put the school in such a bad lighting, especially since we have very um lectured, or not lectured, but like very smart lecturers and teachers, and they have a very high status. So it would feel as if representing them in the wrong manner is just kind of disrespectful towards them. But I do think that with time and more experience, it would be like funner, and I would maybe get more, or well, less conscious about the fact that it gets posted and live streamed, etc. Okay, thank you.
It's all right. I would just say that you are doing both to a good credit for your institutions, your universities. So really well done so far. You will see as the debates progress, you'll find the rhythm within your team and also for yourselves. So we see it every year, and we really look forward to seeing the progress of each team in the new edition between day one and their final matches. Right, and perhaps a bit more fun, if the opposing team were to come to your city, or perhaps even on your campus for your university, what would be the first thing you would take them to see or to experience, or maybe food? All right, from the Hague University, Ms. Misawi.
Honestly, if the opponents came to the university, the first thing that I would show them is like the food places. We have very good food, and different kinds of food. Like you have halal, you have vegan, you have meat, you have everything, soup even. So honestly, I think that that's the best place to be on campus. But around it, it's very nice too. Like the centrum is very like close to our campus, so it would be nice because when you're walking, you have a nice view of the water, and I don't know, it's just a vibe. Okay, thank you.
Right, Ms. Bigna, Mr. Al-Alawi, anything to add on what to experience where the Colombian team come?
If you were to come, of course, we would love to show you the International Court of Justice, the ICC, all the diplomatic sites that exist around The Hague, obviously. It would be a shame not to. And I do think that maybe the Peace Palace and other places would be of great interest. Thank you.
I would say that too, by the way.
Me too.
All right, for University of Colombo, where the Hague team come to visit your city, your campus, what would be the first thing to take them to experience?
So these days, there's the Cricket World Cup happening in Sri Lanka. So definitely to one of the cricket stadiums, I guess, to watch a match. I think there's a match against Netherlands today. So to say, so y'all can definitely, if you come this way, we can definitely go and watch a match and enjoy.
Right. Perhaps also your colleagues, Ms. Gamage or Ms. Hanma Mesarani.
Sri Lanka is like, it's basically a paradise country, so there's so much to see. So, if they were to come, we definitely take them down south for a trip, for a day trip or something, and like show them all the nice beaches. And Sri Lanka is just so nice. It's such a beautiful country, so there's so much to see. I can't put it into like yeah.
All right. Well, perhaps some travel is in the future for the two teams for experience. You already know someone from the other country. So do you let us know if you managed, if you do the exchanges? We have seen in the past debaters have visited each other's campuses. It's always a pleasure to see that you can take the online meetings to the offline environment. Speaking of online meetings, your next match will take place in about 2 weeks. In about a week before that, you are receiving the topics for the preparation, and you will be meeting the remaining 2 universities within your team's groups. And on that note, I wish you the very good rest of the day. And once more, well done for the first debate.
Have a good day.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Thank you.
Well done. Bye.